Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us so early. And let me introduce myself. My name is Jesus Ángel García. I'm the chairman of the DBE, the committee focusing in digital tools and so on. And on the other hand, I'm the coordinator of the working group of the PTEC, focused also in digital transformation. And I'm the head of R&D and universities on INRA. So we are going to start quickly. In this session, we are going to put on the table all the activities we are pushing from our DB committee. And in the first slot will be presented by my colleague from BTT, Isabel Pinto. Isabel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Okay, so go ahead.
Morning. Okay, so do I have control of the slides? I hope so. Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I think I do have, yes. So thank you for being with us so early here in the morning. I've been coordinating the Digital Built Environment Committee in the ECTP together with Jesus as a chair and a very excellent executive board from the industry, from research organizations, universities, and SMEs. I do have some echo, so maybe could switch it off. And today we are just running you through the position paper we have been preparing together with these actors, and that early next year, like the first quarter of the year, would be, it's in draft and it will be made available for the ECT members to comment. So it's a position paper on the digital technologies to the building sector, to the built environment sector. And the target is, the ultimate target is to establish priority topics to the research and development and innovation on this area as it aligns with the mandate of the ECTP and the others. But the idea is also to go a bit beyond that and have it as a reflection of the sector on the priorities to research, the needs of the research in the digital, but also all the cross issues and challenges, how to implement, how to do this transformation, how to do this twin transition. So it goes a bit beyond just to supply priority topics to agenda, which is the core target, but it intends also for the implementation to deal with several stakeholders and initiatives, and of course, in most particularly with the Build for People partnership, but also with innovation clusters around Europe. So on the implementation. Now, on the we move to, is this moving? Yes, thank you. So all the discussion is aligned with the ECTP long-term vision, where the digital have been always present as a core, but also has an embedded support. So of course, this discussion is not new, have been going through many years through many discussions, many projects. We will see today presented in the next presentation key areas of this transformation that are being researched. But this is to point that just because it's the nature of the digital transformation to be really embedded, we can see nowadays with this COVID-19 situation that the development of the vaccine all the measures to be done, the fight against the disease. So they are the core for us to go over the pandemic. But the digital is there to support and to support our lives to go smoothly, as it's easy to present and read a COVID vaccination certificate to enter several spaces. So it's quite in the core, not always visible, but has to be seen. So moving to the paper itself and thinking on these considerations, I'm having a bit of trouble moving the slides. Yes, working. For these reasons, the way we build has two streams that go hand in hand. So in one side, what are the future trends and priorities in the application of the digital technologies itself? I'll name some. So going into the core, and that is the core, going into the core, we know that, for example, many of the tasks, many of the projects on the construction are not repetitive. Of course, there are repetitive tasks, but it's a project that it's not equal from project to projects, is exposed to external elements. So the application of the artificial intelligence has, for example, as an example, has some challenges. We will listen this maybe in the next talk. So in one hand, we have discussed with the sector what are the challenges, what will be the priorities of the applications of these technologies itself to the sector. And in the other hand, we're discussing what are the priorities in key application areas in order to assure the twin transition. And that goes hand in hand with the work of all the other committees of the ECTP on the application areas, which have been for many years already also established the priorities on the digital. So this is built on top of lots of previous work and not per se an isolated action. So just to give an example, so I won't be reading exhaustive what we're talking. So then we are talking on, when it comes to the core technologies, on governance models to secure the data and information delivery, design technologies, tools. There's been huge research on that. A lot has been done and a lot needs still to be done, especially on upscaling and applying. IoT integration, BIM and digital infrastructures, new standards, as it was very well discussed in several sessions yesterday, on the need to have dedicated standards when applying these issues to the sector. So these are just examples of what's approached there when it comes to the core data. And then on the application areas, there's the priorities on smart asset management. So it goes through all the life cycle, digital construction, digital deconstruction, and the sustainable urban transition and the integration. So all these topics are discussed there, sometimes maybe at the moment in the draft of the paper, which will circulate to many of you in the beginning of next year. It might look at the moment too exhaustive, but it's, as I said, more has a thoughtful and a discussion to enable the discussion and the priorities more than just a list of priority topics. So that is the idea. So it's building these two foundations, and of course then embedded on these topics are all the cross-transversal issues as skills, as bringing up living labs, experimentation platforms. We will hear a lot of it today. So the intention, my key takeaway message was mostly to bring to your attention that this work, it's done for the members of the ECTP. This is going to be circulated also for feedback, and it will be really good to get inputs and your views. But I'll take also this presentation has an introduction for the next speakers, and why did we had picked some key topics going on big data, on AI, on platforms that could enable, and also on ecosystems, both like local ecosystems, national strategies, which can then support the enabling of and the implementation of all these issues we are discussing. So thank you so much to be listened, and I hope that you can enjoy the next speakers.
Okay. Thank you very much, Isabel. Currently, we are working so hard trying to publish this document probably at the beginning of next year. So, as everybody knows, the construction sector is the second less digitalized at present. So we need to create not only new technologies in order to ensure the penetration of those technologies into the sector, but also we need to improve the skills. We need to make many things, many pilots and use cases in order to check and to test the improvement of different activities day by day in the sector. And this is not an easy activity, an easy task, but we are convinced that through this committee we will be able to get many improvements. So thank you very much, Isabel. Thanks again, not only for your presentation but also for your effort day by day in our committee. Thanks a lot. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. The presentation of Tassos Tsitanis focus on big data and artificial intelligence-enabled services for the building sector and beyond. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Hope the sound is fine. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to present to you the work that we are doing and some ideas, some food for thought, actually, for how big data and AI can play a role, let's say, in the transformation of buildings into more active nodes, let's say, in the overall energy system. And actually, I will skip all the information about the project because the work that will be presented, let's say, is performed in the frame of the Beyond project, which is a big data for buildings project funded by the European Commission under the H2020 framework. So I will take you, given also the time constraints, very quickly through the main motivation, through the starting point for our project. And as you will see, even though we are focusing on buildings, actually we consider buildings as part of a larger picture, as part of the energy system. And an energy system that is currently characterized by three main aspects, which is the decarbonization aspect, the decentralization aspect, and the digitalization aspect. So it's the three Ds of the energy system, and what we need to have in mind is that all these trends, all these aspects that are currently dominating the energy system generate some significant challenges, let's say, for its resilience and for its overall optimization. Aspects that have to do with the introduction of significant volumes of decentralized assets that bring the control at the edge of the system. Challenges that have to do with huge data production and how this data can be optimally managed and processed in order to deliver some additional knowledge and some intelligence that is required, let's say, for optimization purposes. Challenges that have to do with the mesh network of stakeholders, and I want to highlight this because in such an integrated energy system as we envision it for the future, stakeholders are in need of data and intelligence that is generated at different edges of the energy system. And this is where the buildings come, and this is where the intelligence and, of course, the raw data that are generated in the buildings are obtaining, let's say, significant value and are becoming a tradable and shareable commodity, let's say, towards other stakeholders. And all this knowledge and information flowing from the buildings, let's say, can be a main, at least in our book, can be a main ingredient, let's say, in addressing the complexity, the operational complexity across the whole energy system, across all the different stakeholders that are involved in the value chain. So it brings forward, let's say, not only the need for technologies for interoperability of data or for artificial intelligence per se, but also technologies that have to do with sharing this data in a transparent, in a secure, and in an objective manner across the whole value chain. And this is a key focal point of Beyond to make buildings a central node, let's say, in the energy system, not only in terms of aspects that have to do with their energy performance optimization, but also as the main data sources that can facilitate further functions across different stakeholders. And this is why we are bringing forward the value chain integration and the establishment of a collective intelligence framework that is supported by advanced and transparent data sharing and intelligence sharing features between the different stakeholders. And actually, with the situation that we are called actually to address and optimize, let's say, through Beyond, but it's not only the Beyond situation, it's the anticipated, let's say, evolution of how the energy system and the role of buildings, let's say, will evolve in the near future, is shown here in this figure in a simplified manner, because the interactions are far more complex if we want to document them in very detail. But as you can see, buildings can play a vital role not only in optimizing their internal processes, their internal optimization through data and AI, but they can also support aggregators, let's say, in optimizing their positioning in energy market. They can support retailers, let's say, for the provision of more advanced services, and also for supporting, let's say, the optimization of energy market functioning. They can support network operators in ensuring the resilience of the grid. They can support city authorities in their urban planning processes, and so on. And this is facilitated through our effort, through our the work and the technologies that we produce within Beyond, by establishing a robust and a formalized data sharing framework that can give significant value to the data that are produced by the buildings. In this sense, we are introducing, even though we do have the energy aspect, that we do have the industry aspect, let's say, inherent in our activities, we are introducing in our project and the overall approach that we follow. We introduce two main types of users, two main types of stakeholders. On the one hand, we have the data providers, and actually what we need to have in mind is that on the data provider side, we consider that we place the building sector, and we have the data consumer side, which are the ones that take advantage and utilize the data that are produced by the buildings, taking them outside actually of the building level, and they can utilize this data only if they have a specific data sharing agreement signed with the owner and provider of the data that are in stake. In practical terms, we offer an end-to-end platform at the moment, and we are currently under development of this end-to-end platform that addresses several aspects that have to do with increasing the data quality, collecting the data from different modalities and different formats, establishing an interoperable framework around data, mainly on the semantic level, and making this data searchable and identifiable, let's say, by external entities that do have access to this kind of data. And by access, I mean that we establish also the mechanisms towards increasing the security of the data, towards allowing the data owners on a data owner-centric manner to define in very detail how the data will be accessed and by whom. Who will be the data consumers actually that will have access to their data. How the data will be anonymized and at what level they can be anonymized in order not to lose the utility of the data, and so on. These are the typical data governance functions that we offer by the platform, but from that point on, we move further beyond in order to provide the mechanisms for the establishment of data sharing contracts based on blockchain technologies that will allow us, let's say, to optimally monitor the performance and settle and provide the remuneration, let's say, for any data transactions performed between building data owners, actually, and stakeholders outside the building domain that want to make use of this data. And it's not only data in our book, it's also AI, because we offer the tools for final users that refer to the data science world. So we are not offering just a black box of analytics, but we are offering a platform for analytics, for the design of workflows, for the design of pipelines, for the manipulation of the data, in order to make sure that data scientists also obtain a very powerful tool in order to deliver the intelligence required, not only for the building site, but also beyond it. And this is, in fact, let's say, the main technological aspects that are addressed in our project. So we offer tools for effortless data management, as I said before, for data governance, addressing all aspects, actually, of data governance in a holistic manner. We offer tools for intuitive data exploration, not only for search, but also for allowing different stakeholders to perform a matchmaking, to identify easily and match their needs actually to what is really offered into our platform in terms of data and in terms of intelligence. We offer an analytics as a service toolkit in order to increase the intelligence across all edges of the value chain. And of course, we touch upon the semantic interoperability aspects by harmonizing the most popular data models around buildings and around the energy domain, and also offering tools for the effective management and an effortless management, let's say, of the life cycle of a common information model that we deliver as the main harmonization block, let's say, between these standardized data models. On the other hand, we touch upon security, of course, because we need also to address the GDPR aspects, the privacy aspects, and any concerns that have to do with data sharing between different stakeholders in order to increase trust of them in our technologies. And as I said before, I will not touch into details into every technological aspect, but I want to highlight the data sharing mentality that we want to introduce over the industry, actually, by offering this kind of technologies that will facilitate the negotiation and the establishment of dedicated data contracts between different stakeholders in order to increase data reach and facilitate the exchange of information in a transparent way. In terms of applications that are built on top of this big data platform and the AI analytics toolkit that is the core result of our project, and I'm giving you just a heads up that within the next 4 months, actually until mid-spring 2022, the beta release of our platform will be launched. And from that point on, we will not remain, let's say, at the boundaries of a typical European project, but we will invite stakeholders from the whole industry to register to the platform and perform, let's say, the different functions that we offer, actually introduce themselves as data providers that can get some remuneration out of it, but also as data consumers that can search and find data that they are in need of them, and actually experiment with analytics and, of course, perform the respective remuneration to the data provider that they will come into agreement. So more news will come, and you will have the opportunity to test hands-on all this experience that is offered by our platform. On the application side, what we offer, let's say, in order to validate our data concept, touches upon different stakeholders, different end stakeholders actually of the whole energy value chain. So we are offering data-driven urban planning tools for city authorities in order to optimize, let's say, the target setting and the design of activities towards reaching the objectives of their SECAP. We offer tools for network operators for planning and sizing the future extension and the population of their networks with new technologies in an informed manner. Also, on the design part, I'm staying on the design part because we are also supporting ESCOs and construction companies in advancing the knowledge that they can inject in existing renovation planning tools with data and intelligence that flow from the Beyond platform. And of course, we touch upon also the real-time optimization of building energy performance by optimizing, let's say, the prediction capabilities of digital twins for building energy management and asset management. This goes mainly to the facility management part. We support retailers with tools that allow them to perform a bottom-up and optimized analysis of and management of their customer portfolio. And of course, we cannot leave out of the picture the occupants themselves, the prosumers, as we call it, from the energy side, but the building occupants themselves. And based on the data and the very detailed data that we collect from the built environment, not only metering data or smart appliance data, but we also touch upon convenience and well-being aspects. So we collect information about the indoor ambience. We deliver analytics about comfort profiles, and we advance these analytics, the comfort analytics, actually into more elaborated concepts for flexibility profiling and flexibility activation in order to deliver, at the end of the day, a bundle of services. And this goes mainly to the Built for People activities. We are offering a bundle of services that allow whatever optimization takes place in the building, either it serves the purposes of the building or it serves the purposes of other stakeholders, to be performed in a human-centric way. So without compromising, in any case, the comfort, the convenience, and the well-being of the people living in the buildings, which is a key priority for us, not only from a scientific and research point of view, but also from a business point of view, because whatever solution will be finally deployed may easily be rejected, let's say, if the people do not accept it in their into their real life schedules and processes. So everything will be demonstrated. Actually, all the technologies, both the big data platform and the AI applications, will be demonstrated in 4 large-scale demo sites. Actually, I will not get into the details to them. So I tried to give you more or less a brief picture of what we are doing on the big data, on the AI, and on the data sharing side, let's say, in the Beyond project, involving the buildings, let's say, in such a process of transforming themselves into data providers and, of course, intelligence consumers. So I think that hopefully I managed to do this, but I'm open for any questions that may have been created, let's say, during my presentation in order to give some further insights for this session. So thank you a lot, and I'm open, let's say, now to receive any questions that are put in the table.
Okay, thank you very much, Tassos, for your presentation. So, in fact, recently, the technology platform ADRA, that it means Artificial Intelligence, Data and Robotics Association has been created. And I would like to put this on the table in order to discuss about how to converse from us, the DB committee, with them, with other association in a near future. So we will discuss in the next DB committee, because as you know, as everybody knows, data management. So in order to create data repositories and to store not only data but also experience and knowledge and how to exploit and to share that information between the different actors and between different operations in the whole value chain in the construction sector is the challenge currently. So the next presentation, thank you very much, Tassos, for your presentation. The next presentation is Smart Build for EU, and Alexis, David, merci beaucoup, and please start.
Right. Right. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Alexis David from ECTP, of which you have probably heard a bit since the past couple of days. I'm here to present the project Smart Build for EU, which is currently coordinated by the ECTP, and that is very much related to what has been introduced so far concerning the DBE committee. And well, I hope first of all to give a good overview of this project, to interest you in the topics we are covering, and maybe in the future to provide some inputs as well to feed the discussions of the DBE committee. The Smart Build for EU project, in a very globally speaking, aims at discussing what the smart buildings domain has to tackle in terms of research and innovation in order to improve the acceptance and the uptake of the technology, smart buildings. So Smart Build for EU is a European project, a CSA coordination and support action that started a bit more than a year ago. So as I say, it's coordinated by ECTP, and it's gathering the partners that you're currently seeing on the screen. So a mix of association, companies, RTOs, academics as well, across Europe. And here on this slide, we have summarized our main objectives in this project. So first of all, our objective is to create, consolidate, and support the community that is working on innovation ecosystems in the smart building value chain, promote what they are doing, basically. That's a big part of our job, promote what is existing, what is being done across Europe. Break silos, bringing people together, having them around the table discussing together in order to assess what has to be done, what is being done, what are the next steps, and so on. So that we can try to bridge this gap between innovation, market, and policies. Most of the work we are doing, all those discussions I was mentioning, aim at producing in the end a roadmap, a research and innovation roadmap that we will of course share with the European Commission, but also, why not, with member states, and as I was saying, with a DBE committee, for instance, in order to feed the discussions that they are having. With this little diagram, we wanted to summarize the main activities of this project. On the top of it, the first activity consists, well, as I said, in constructing, in building this community working on smart buildings. So identifying who does what, showing what they're doing, promoting what they're doing, bringing them together. So that is our first action. And if you want to join this community, you are very welcome to do so. Here you have a little QR code which you can scan in order to subscribe and to get information about what we are doing. The second activity, once we have created and formed this community, is to, as I said, bring them around the table in order to assess what are the hot topics, what are the hot trends in terms of smart building, smart innovations, and have them discuss what should be done, what are the barriers, the drivers, and in order to define together a roadmap of the next steps in the sector. In parallel to that, we are working also on contributing to the promotion, experimentation of the SRI, the Smart Readiness Indicator, of which you have certainly heard. Support it in promoting it and also providing a few more tools in order to show the added value of smart technologies and smart buildings. And finally, all this work will be gathered within an SRIA, strategic roadmap, basically. And as I said, we aim at feeding the discussions and giving this information to the European Commission in order, why not, to frame the future programs and fundings for smart buildings and smart technologies. I'm going to give a few more details about those activities, one after the other. Just a few examples of promotion activities. Again, that's an important part of our work, promoting what is being done, what are the projects, what are the technologies that are European funded, that are ongoing already or that are finished actually. So for instance, we have developed and disseminated this brochure you're seeing on the screen just to promote the projects that are focusing on the topics we are talking about in this project. You can access to it online, of course, and we are currently finishing a second brochure, same kind of brochure, but this time not focusing on projects themselves, but on technologies that have been produced through those European projects. It will be available within 1 or 2 weeks, actually. Then a big activity of the project are those task forces, so those round tables I was mentioning, bringing people together. What we have done is we have created 4 task forces. You can see the topics right now on the screen of those 4 task forces. Each task force will be tackling 3 topics, so that's a total of 12 topics, one after the other. We create groups that during 6 months exchange, unfortunately not physically but online during different workshops. And after having discussed, we have identified barriers, drivers, and so on. And all this is summarized within white papers. So in total, we are going to produce 12 white papers that are going to be public, of course. And actually, if I go to the first topics that we have been tackling during the first months of this project, the white papers are already online. So you can access to them and see what we have been discussing about end-user acceptance and attractiveness, interoperability, flexibility when we're talking about the building within its environment, and financing and business models. That is one of our topics for the cross-cutting issues that actually we have heard about as well with the presentation of Tassos just before. All those white papers are structured around the main elements I'm going to introduce now. So the barriers, you can see that they're organized around technical, economic, social, and value chain issues. And in the same way, we are trying for each of those barriers to propose some drivers as well. I'm not going to go through them. Of course, you can access those white papers that are actually quite straightforward and simple to read. So that's a good reading if you're in your plane when going back home. User acceptance, well, like all the other topics, have been producing those R&I key topics that we should push forward, that the community actually that we have gathered would like to push forward in next programs, European programs in particular. Those are the topics that are currently being discussed within those task forces. So the second wave of topics we are tackling, user-centric buildings, optimized building cost, smart building as an enabler of new energy practices and communities, security and privacy, which is, well, of course, quite a complicated cross-cutting issue to tackle. Again, within a few months, that will be end of March, if I'm not wrong, we will produce the new white papers of the topics you are currently seeing on the screen. Now I'm going to this activity about supporting the SRI, the Smart Readiness Indicator. So one of the ideas is to support, of course, the SRI, promote the ID, and provide some, let's say, some trainings or awareness trainings about the SRI, but also to go a bit further in terms of assessing what other co-benefits, other co-benefit indicators, in addition to all the criteria that the SRI is defining, co-benefit in terms of comfort, of health for the occupants, etc. So that go a bit beyond the scope of the SRI. All that in order to maybe address this lack of clarity in the marketplace about the added value of smart service and smart technologies. So again, to convince people of the the good of what they could benefit from inserting smart technologies into their buildings. So we'll provide some, as I said, awareness trainings and some material as well. You can see a picture, that's a draft picture of something we are currently developing, technology sheets that tell you for this kind of building based on one of our typologies. For this building, this situation, this climate, if you add those technologies that are focusing on health or whether focusing on energy, this is a gain you can expect in your building. Of course, that is quantitative, but it's aiming again at showing the added value and the benefits of what can be the results of smart technologies in your building. And all that, finally, in particular from the white papers I was mentioning before, all that will be summarized into this SRIA, this roadmap that we are editing all together with all this community we are building. Specify how RNI priorities can be implemented, can foster the sector, give a view on what could be the agenda, the European agenda on RNI in smart buildings, smart technologies, and increase implementation potential and chances of success of all those technologies. So this roadmap that will be done in the second part of the project, so let's say we will release it in early 2023, will be focused on 12 main issues that will be actually following the 12 white papers that I was mentioning before, and we will develop much further what could be done and what is a view of the community we have built within this project. I stop here for this overview of the project, but as you have understood, it is a very open project. We are welcoming all participants from all the value chain. If you would like to participate, you are extremely welcome to do so, whether it is within the trainings, the communication and dissemination activities that we're organizing, or above all within the task forces in one of the topics that is left to be discussed. So just click on the registration page or scan the QR code, join this community, and while you are joining the community, you can very simply indicate to which of those task forces you would like to participate. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexis. Always on time. So this is a very important project, not only for all the outcomes related to the energy efficient buildings, but also in order to the current R&D program, the Horizon Europe, and their missions focus on the CO2 emissions. So very important source, not only for knowing what outcomes we have through the project, but also in the near future, how we will be able to improve the impact in the environment. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the next presentation by Rita Moura, enabling the use of a state-of-the-art construction digital technology in Portugal. So please, no, don't worry. Stay there. Okay.
Yes, Alice, you can stay there. Tenemos tiempo.
Can I take this? No.
Sure, whatever you want.
Okay. So, good morning. Thank you very much. I think I cannot read that. So, thank you very much for this invitation. I will talk you about the enabling the use of state-of-the-art in construction digital technology in Portugal. Where can I? Yeah. So, first of all, I will talk you about the construction digital technology in Portugal. Then I will talk you about the Build Collab. I will do a presentation about this association. And then what Build Collab are the research areas. So, to make you a point what is going on in Portugal. So, in 2011, we set the Portuguese Technology Platform, the NTP in Portugal. And this is as something different regarding the other technology platforms, because this technology platform was pushed by the big construction companies. We understand that Portugal is a small country, so we need to boost this innovation movement in Portugal. So the big construction companies put together their efforts, and we bring the main universities with us, and also, of course, SMEs, innovative SMEs. And we work a lot during those years, since 2011 till 2017, where we were recognized by the Portuguese government as the cluster AEC, Cluster Architecture, Engineering, Construction. And this recognized this happening was very important to our association, because after that, a lot of SMEs join us in this movement. It's really a movement, and it's interesting because we can promote, because digital transformation is, we are talking about communication, putting everybody talking the same language, so we have to work together. And we, construction companies, we understand that we have to work with all the SMEs and all the stakeholders around construction, and not only enterprises, also owners, okay? We have, for instance, the Road Authority of Portugal working with us, which is the biggest owner in Portugal, so that was very important. So since 2017, we work in the dynamization of Build Collab, and in 2020 we get we were succeed in our we applied and we were succeed to be founded in the Build Collab, which is an association, ROT association, that aims to tackle the innovation in the construction sector. And after that, we have a lot of founded projects. For instance, that project, REV Construction, it's a project of 1.5 million euros from a Portuguese framework, and the others, and we are now succeeded in Agenda Mobilizadora, which is in the recovery plan of Portugal. So it's a 62 million euros project that we were succeed in the last weeks. And also here we were succeed in the Digital Innovation Hub in Portugal, and recently, so I'm not talking about that, okay? So this is the main projects that we have. I'm sorry, it's so difficult to read those things, but I will try to do something. So now talking about Build Collab, as I said, it's focused in innovation. It's a research, innovation, and knowledge transfer to increase productivity, competitiveness, and sustainability in the ecosystem of the architecture, engineering, and construction sector in Portugal, and follows a technology to market approach. Okay. The Build Collab, we promote the digital and the environment transition of buildings and infrastructures. And this is really important because I just hear about buildings, but infrastructures are very important. And I have here it was here the head of the Committee of Infrastructures, and BIM is really important also in infrastructures, not only in buildings. And to make them adaptable, intelligent, resilient, and sustainable, okay? So we promote the digitalization based on BIM, of course, methodology and technologies to promote the use of the digital twin in the built environment. And in this point, it's important to stress that digital and sustainability issues they go together, and they are very good together. It's impossible to make a sustainable transition without a digital transition, in my opinion, so they work together. And we promote industrialization through the modularization of the construction, and also develop innovative technologies for assembling off-site. So we promote modular and off-site construction. Okay. We aggregate of knowledge centers, industry and end users in a collaborative environment, promoting a common creation model that will contribute to the transformation of the built environment of the future. So this is our expertise areas. I'm not going to talk about them. I just will give some examples, and I split the areas that were talking before. But we have BIM and parametric design, we LCA, life cycle assessment and circular construction, building digital transition, digital twin and point cloud technologies, IoT and cyber physical systems, and augmented and virtual reality. Okay, so this is the associates from Build Collab. So we have the biggest construction companies in Portugal. We have designers, we have architects, we have the main universities. We have, as I told, the roads authority from Portugal and several entities. Okay. So I'm not talking deeply in this, but this is our intensive innovation groups that we create. We create in these subjects that I cannot read because I'm so sorry. It's really, but okay. It's in automation. It's in the digital twin area. It's in the building passports. Okay, I can send you this. It's for me. I cannot read from here, sorry. And this is the research areas. Okay, we have, now we have 24 high qualified resources working with us in these subjects, and they are mentioned there, the names, but of course I'm not going to read. But we have the pillar of smart transport infrastructures, we have IoT, we have the BIM intelligence, we have the green transition, and that's important because now we were also founded by the Minister of Environment. We have been founded by them to promote the green transition in Portugal also, and the digital transition also. So we have these fields of. Okay, we have here some projects and developments that we already done and that we are doing yet, together with our associates, but also with other stakeholders, because we promote services to all stakeholders in Portugal, and not only in Portugal, in those areas that we can see several projects. I will give some examples. This is one of them, just one. It's the Concrete 4.0, where in a huge project, research project, we are going to demonstrate the potential of the digital twin in a concrete operation of a big bridge in Lisbon, in the center of Lisbon, and we are going to put it's in a very traffic part of Lisbon, and we are going to put sensors during the fabrication of the concrete till the application of the concrete, and we will do like with alarmistic and things like that. We are going to help the execution of this bridge and also the maintenance of this bridge after the execution. So it's a very interesting project. This is another project. It's a video. Oh. It's in the field of construction simulation of a modular system. It was something that Associate asked for us, and we developed together, and now we have a tool for modular construction simulation. I'm just giving some examples because it's a lot of things, so can you put it louder? No. All the phases to simulate the modular construction, and it's associate that has a modular fabrication. So all the phases. Okay. So APD's database, we gather APD's data that will allow us to evaluate the potential of the optimized algorithm to choose from several materials and products, and that integration in the BIM plugin. So this is really important to sustainable issues, as I said before. And also in this life cycle assessment optimization, we incorporate the development of algorithms in the BIM plugin to support these designers and decision process on the use of different materials and their economic and environmental impacts in the project. So we developed this. And also the circular action plan that we are developing, as I told before, with the Minister of Environment. And this is a very important issue because circularity is probably the most difficult issue for construction, in my opinion, because in energy efficiency we have all the technology, we just have to use them. But in the circularity we have everything to do, so we have to work together. And our government, fortunately, they understand that and they support us a lot in this. So we have a protocol with this minister, and we are going to develop a strategic plan regarding circular economy and based on digital tools, of course. And thank you very much. And if you want something, please you have our contacts in Build Collab. Please contact us to work with in several projects. We are very interested also in Build for People because it's what we do. We build for people. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Rita. So please stay here both, because after the next presentation we are going to answer some questions. Okay, so I would like to suggest that to bring effort together between the DB committee and Build Collab in order to improve the definition not only for BIM but also for team, transport infrastructure, information model strategy in the ECTP and in our next activities in the DB committee.
Of course, we are very interested, as you understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next presentation, the final presentation, I'm going to change my hat as and I'm going to introduce this presentation as the coordinator of the working group focusing digital transition into the PTEC. So I'm going to present the Spanish National Strategic Plan about the digital transformation of the construction sector. So I think that we need some commas in the title of this presentation because it's very difficult to maintain the breath. So I need this. Sorry. So first of all, I would like to present the PTEC. This is the ECONS system, the ecosystem of the Spanish construction sector. That it is composed by many stakeholders, not only in the construction sector itself, but also in universities, R&D, entities, public and private, both, and technology partners like Indra, among others. And this working group was born in 2019, basically because as everyone, we check the digital penetration of the technologies in the different sectors, and as you know, the construction sector is the second less digitalized of the sectors. And in this sense, we try to considering that the construction and the tourism are the biggest sectors and most important sectors in Spain, we decide to create this working group, and we decide to put all the strategy, the Spanish strategy, to Europe. And this is the beginning of this working group, with the intention not only for strengthening the relationships with other entities, like for instance ECTP, but also in order to create or to push a new program focus, new R&D program focus in the construction sector. Considering that the digital technologies are horizontal and cross-domain and so on, it's very difficult to create or to test, to check a technology in only one sector and to reuse it in other sector. So in this sense, we decide that we need to create, to develop different small pilots in order to check the productivity, and after that, trying to scale up those technologies in the bigger projects. So currently we are working in the national plan in order to collect together all the strategic lines, not only from the construction partners, but also the technology ones, in order to create this national plan. And our intention, our plan, consisting to publish this document at the beginning of next year. So as Carlos knows, this is a very hard work. So considering the huge possibilities and the huge activities we need to push, we decide to split this plan in two parts. The first one is related to a consultation, and the next one is to the definition of the roadmap and the plans in order to push and to push in the real world those technologies and these activities. The consultation is the first one phase we have pushed, and this activity is closed at present. So in fact, the document has been published 3 or 4 months ago, and in our first consultation, when we try to analyze the data results, the results weren't any sense, because although each parameter, each item was sense, if we put everything together, it was very different and difficult to understand. Why? Because Spain is very different. We have many regions, so in fact the needs and the challenge and the barriers of, for instance, University of Galicia is very different from a construction industry in Barcelona. So for this reason, we decide to collect the information region by region and splitting into the different needs actor by actor. So in this sense, you are able to analyze the data content in this document by region, by entity, or mixing both. I need to know what is the barriers, for instance, of a digital company, a small company in Madrid. You will be able to get that information in this document. considering that there are many big players involved in this consultation, it's very difficult that, for example, Ferrovial asked to Acciona, please tell me something about your strategy. So in this sense, we decide to put as coordinator in each region a university or a technology center or technology company in order to provide a more neutral vision in order to identify these R&D entities. Finally, the structure of the document is split in several sections. The first one is the digital transformation strategy as a mix of everything, most important things, and so on. And after that, splitting by region and different type of entities, the barriers, challenge, and strategic pilots we think that we are able to develop in a short time. We are able to check the productivity of these pilots, and we will be able to, with a little investment, to scale up those pilots in a real world and real operations. Okay, so this is the result. It's a very brief summary. You are invited to download this information in both languages, in Spanish and in English, from the PTC website. So the main barriers are the first one is the reactive innovation. We are not proactive in this sector. We are waiting for others in order to. What is the innovation? This, and you test it. Yeah. And the result was, no, it's fine or not. Okay, so I am going to do the same. So we are very reactive in this sense. The second one is related to we have many legacy technologies. Each organization has their own technologies, sometimes own developments. Other partners use technologies from others, not only European technologies, and it's very difficult to integrate in the BIM tool chain, for instance, those technologies, and we need a very big effort to integrate this information, and obviously it's very difficult to exploit the results or to obtain results and data and experience and so on. The third barrier is the digital competition. We have a huge ecosystem of startups, digital enterprise solution, apps, and so on, and it's very difficult to take a decision about that. If you see the presentation, we have a map with the main regions, the regions for what this barrier is the first one. Okay, that's the meaning of these slides. The fourth barrier is related to we have no standards, mainly because we have many legacy technologies, and obviously in this sector we need new skills. The sector, in our opinion, is not ready for this. If we are not able to if we not invest previously in learning those technologies and how to use and how to deploy them, and so on. And in the point of view of type of entities for the large companies, the first or the most important barrier is we are in a very fragmented market. For a small and medium enterprise, it's very expensive to deploy these technologies, to obtain these technologies, to learn how to use them, and so on. And for the universities, that they have the skills, but they're very it's very difficult to close those knowledge and skills to the real market. Okay. So mainly the distance between the R&D entities with the industries. As main challenges, the first one is the energy availability, because we need a more efficient management of the energy. So there are many trends like trying to converge the data, or how we are currently at present we manage the data networks, and trying to do the same with the energy network. So this is our main trend. BIM adoption. So not for the companies, but mainly for the public administrations, because when you are trying to develop a project for the public administration, probably you have the adequate technologies, the right technologies, you have the skills, but the public administration is not ready for doing that and to receive the information through in BIM format and so on. This is a very important challenge, not only in Spain, I think that in the whole Europe. The marketing tracing, not only for the operation, but also for the materials and so on, in order to get a global vision and integrated vision of the project. The resilient buildings, mentioned before by Alexis, and the data privacy, because it's in a color world, in a pink world, is very beautiful to share information and so on. But obviously, I need to exploit my own data in order to reuse in my own operations and so on. And obviously, I need the operation, the data. I want to share only with the people involved or companies involved in the same project, but we need to ensure the information in terms of cyber security protection. As re-summarize, the main challenges for large companies is the same that the one for the set of the all entities, the energy availability and BIM adoption. For a small and medium enterprise, the data privacy and user-centric approach in order to personalize the information, and for the universities, the BIM adoption based on standards. Those are, I assume that the font size is very small, but it's an example of the different pilots we identified as strategic small pilots, candidates to scale up in a real world. And in the right side of the slide, this is the alignment with the RIS3 plan. So we have made the effort to include this vision and this challenge into the RIS plan of our communities or regions. At present, we are at this point, finished the digital consultation and so on. We are working in the plan, as I mentioned before. This is the very brief snapshot of of our strategy, the consultation, the previous consultation, and the development of the document. And that's all. So maybe we have to ask ourselves this. Shall the DB committee extend this initiative to other European countries? And that's the question to be answered in the next DB committee. So that's all. Thank you very much. So, you have any question, remark? I understand that. Yeah. Alam, s'il vous plaît.
Yes. Good morning to all. Well, my questions will go probably to Jesus and Rita. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation. I would like to raise one question to you, to get your view about that. I'm not waiting for a fixed answer, and it's an answer frozen, I would say, frozen in the rocks. But I can see that we have a tendency, all of us, of course, when we go to these roadmap or strategic plans, to divide according to different criteria. I have a look at, for instance, what you have introduced, Rita. It seems that you have developed working groups rather according to different type of technologies, information and communication technologies, where in that case, it seems that you are more in the Spanish tradition, relying on well, these identification and collection of the various needs that have been identified by your various stakeholders. When we do consider, for instance, what is definitely asked by the European Commission with all the partnerships, including the Build for Future partnership you referred to, Rita, there is this aspect of systemic approach, holistic and systemic approach, which raises quite a lot of problems, quite a lot of issues. And I'm not sure myself you have the answer to those issues. But if you refer, for instance, to take an example which is the one of circularity and circular economy, I fully agree with you that we have quite a lot of things to do with that. But we can understand that if we deal with circularity, we will need to combine different types of approach. We need life cycle analysis of all the assets that we are going to transform in one way or the other. That's something which is very important. We need probably to get a lot of data to make analysis on this data, which means on one side IoT, of course, but also, for instance, relying on the digital building passports, or probably more the digital building logbooks and these kind of things. My question, indeed, is how are we going to tackle this aspect of I would say, transversal and systemic approach that we need to solve the key challenges which are ahead of us, where we still probably, all of us, by the way, and this is also probably a little bit the case yet again in the CCP and in various countries. What are your views on how we can tackle this aspect of systemic approach while we are still dividing, I would say, according some different criteria, which sometimes doesn't really allow, I would say, to connect the various dots. I'm not asking you a complete and final answer on that. Just getting some views.
First of all, please let me to try to summarize your question to the people connected, because you have no microphone. Okay, so trying to summarize your question is something like, considering we have present a different approach, what is the right approach to translate to European Commission, more or less, more or less.
Well, my question is, well, the European Commission is here to support us.
Oh,
But it's waiting for now, at least in the Build for People partnership, for a systemic approach.
okay.
How are we dealing with this systemic approach if we sometimes, as we have a tendency to do so, focus on some technologies or on some specific needs
Okay.
and challenges? What are the views of potentially, by the way, all the speakers panel on this aspect, yes, of transversality and systemic approach?
Okay, and Alain adds that and if this will be supported by the European Commission and the different R&D programs in Europe, more or less. Okay, so
I agree. I understand your question is a very difficult one, but I believe that the systemic approach is very important because it makes us focus in a specific problem, and when we focus in a specific problem, we find all the connections about that problem. But also a transversal approach is needed, but a simple one. In my opinion, regarding digitalization, the transversal approach is more regarding like we have to think about management, because this is always about management. We have to think about the tools we have, and we have to think about people. So three horizontal issues, and then we have a systemic approach, and those together they will give us something. Okay. And one question for me, and regarding circularity, I think that we have to be focused in market, because everything has to be business at the end of the day. Because if it's not business, then it will be very difficult to promote. And why energy efficiency is a success? And because it's business. And we have to turn circularity to business, to be a business. And that's, for me, it's the like the North Star that we will have. Change everything as it's a business, okay? So we have to find ways to put it in a business.
So I would like to add that, as I mentioned before in my presentation of the Spanish National Plan, we have a very important problem that is related to the non-existing involvement of the public administrations, for instance, in the BIM adoption. And probably in this sense, we have to create a task force within the DB committee in order to define a roadmap of on the identification of different activities we need by the public administration in order to adopt and to push this digital transformation that is very, very important. It's the main barrier, in my opinion, and I hope that this session is not recording. In my opinion, the main problem is we need the skills, but in the public administrations, and we need the main adoption of these technologies by the public administrations. This is our main barrier, in my opinion.
We have a question.
Yeah. Please.
My question is actually, if I look at your plans, and I think it goes a little into the direction what Anna has said, this systemic approach, because if you want to have a systemic approach, you need to be interdisciplinary, cross-sectoral, and so on. And when you are talking about how to tackle recycling and so on, I wonder how far you are really searching to work with other associations, because that's what we try to do in Meta Building, and if we achieve, we will see. But we try to bring in, for example, URIC, that is the Association of Recycling in Europe, and I know you have these kind of types of association in all your countries. I know it's better from France. There we have FEDEREC, which is the Federation of Recycling companies and so on. And I think the most important thing for me is all these strategic thinking you are doing, that you don't do only with people from your own group, because if you don't exchange, it won't work. And I don't know, my question now is, do you do that already? And you haven't maybe... I won't start all over again. My question is, do you do that already? Do you already invite maybe strategic groups from other associations? Do you work together? Because if you don't start thinking together about the future, you will never receive a result that is towards an integrated value chain of an enlarged built environment sector.
Sure. So in fact, 10 minutes ago, I have invited to the Portuguese Association, Smart Collab, in order to bring effort together. So this is one of the intentions of the DB committee, in order to get to agree these activities, not only like DB itself, but obviously bringing effort together with other associations in order to have a single voice and a single strategic plan. That's the intention. Obviously, we have many technology platforms along Europe, And in this sense, we will try, we will do it. Okay. So if you want, please provide us the contact details of that association, and we'll run effort together. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Regarding Portugal, I talk about Build Collab. Build Collab is our association that is only focusing innovation. Okay, we also have we are creating a strategic plan in digitalization in Portugal with our Minister of Infrastructures, as more or less the same that the PTEC is doing. But we are in progress. Okay, so I didn't talk about that. Okay, so I talk about innovation, but anyway, in our cluster AC, we have like 20 clusters in Portugal. So we are in contact with other clusters. For instance, Portugal Waste, which is a cluster and regarding circularity, it's a cluster focusing circularity of all kind of resources, not only construction resources, but we work with those clusters. For instance, that digital innovation hub that I talk about, that we were succeeded in that digital innovation hub, we work together with a cluster of mineral resources and cluster of railway works, okay, and construction. We work together, and we have connections with Portugal Waste. So we are quite well organized in Portugal regarding clusters activities, and we have connections in Europe, and we are promoting more and more. So I think that in Portugal it's going well. It's going in the good way, not well, but in a good way.
So in order to be more executive, I would like to propose 2 actions. We are going to identify all the technology platforms around Europe in order to discuss with them and look for this whole or single plan. And the second one is related to trying to do the same, that to extend the initiative I presented before about the national plan in Spain, trying to extend to other countries through these technology platforms. Okay, so we have only 5 minutes. I think that Isabel, you want to tell something?
Yes, a general comment, but if there's no more questions, just a couple of comments to this discussion. I think we need to see this in several layers. So there are the local clusters of innovation, the construction technology platforms at the national level. They are absolutely critical to involve and should involve in the discussion all the national actors. Then the role of the ECTP and the DBE, as we discuss, is to communicate also with that, to establish a network also with that partners and with all associates of the ECTP interested in the discussion, which are welcome. Like I said, even the position paper will be, when mature, distributed, and should have a thematic discussion like the other committees have a thematic discussion, so focus more. And then there's the Build for People partnership, which is an umbrella and which can hear all these voices and cluster the discussions and the priorities on these voices and return it. So this is bidirectional. And in the implementation of the Build for People partnership, there's also planned a network of innovation clusters. So in the end, all this creates the desirable network, and it should be bi-directional, as Rita referred, should be also about business, should be also about implementation with the local companies. So it should go both ways. The needs coming, the priorities from all the actors involved in the local clusters, the communication with other clusters, the build of community, as it was presented by Alex, is in the Smart Build for EU. So all these then should come together. So the committees like the DBE, so the Digital Building Environment Committee, are more like facilitators of this discussion. And then in the end, the Build for People does communicate also with the Commission, and we cluster it. We serve for that. So that's. And then I would like, in a second note, so not directly with these questions, just to remind, so the way we built this session was precisely about bringing some elements for a foundation, meaning we are talking precisely about the national clusters, which involved much more essential actors than what we can sometimes cluster in the technology platforms at the European level. We are talking about building communities and ecosystems, about how to build a position paper where we could voice our priorities. So this was the how we decide to build this question, and then also bringing elements like how an SME, like what Tassos presented, is bringing. It's creating platforms and solutions for critical digital as the AI and the big data. So this was the intention of this session. And then for the ones of you, this is just like a moment of marketing here. For the ones of you also a bit, let's say, more thirsty to discuss the technologies itself, I will really advise you to stay tuned and follow the next session on the twin, on the digital twin, where then it's really going to locate it more on the dissemination of projects, of R&Ds, of solutions, more targeted digitalization. So these two sessions were actually balanced with a bit of different level of discussion. So stay tuned. Thank you.
To push from the DB committee. And thanks again. And obviously, if you have any question and remark, we are available now. And the people connect through the web, and all our contact details are available and are open to everyone. So thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you, Tassos.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and hopefully you're having a lovely time in Madrid. Welcome to a great session today on simulations across building life cycles in building digital twin environments. My name is Sami Kazi. I work at VTT as a research team leader for smart cities and intelligent buildings. It's my pleasure and honor to jointly host this session with my wonderful colleague, Eduard Loskas, who is the president of the Building Digital Twin Association. In today's session, what we plan to do is I'll hand it over to Eduard in a while, and he's going to talk about the working group number 4 of the Building Digital Twin Association and focusing on lifecycle simulation under building digital twin environments. We will then have a session of speakers covering human thermal models and how they interact with buildings, mathematical simulations using SimBots. This is from the Sphere project. We will have an insight into the DigitalPlace project, which focuses on how do we go towards an EU platform and harmonization. We will then also look at certain simulation activities under the BIM for EEB project. And then we will also look at BIM for REN and BIM 2 WIN projects. And then towards the end, what we hope is to have a meaningful roundtable discussion on where do we see the future, how can we position things and move forward. Thank you very much for being a part of this session, and let me now hand it over to my lovely friend and colleague, Eduard Loskos, who is the president of the Building Digital Twin Association. And so, floor is yours, Eduard. Please go ahead.
For the presentation and the introduction, and I see that in Finland there is a sunny day today. So
it's actually snowing. It's actually snowing here. I just tried to make it sunny, so I feel like I'm with you guys.
Next time, let's see if we can do it presentially. But that's good to have technologies to be so close. So thank you so much. As Sami was pointing out, okay, today it's at the end is like the beginning of this working group 4, okay, of the Building Digital Twin Association, and we first of all we would like to thanks to ECTP to have this opportunity to use the Congress, okay, on this session to start talking about the role that simulations that has inside of the digital twin environments, and when focusing on the construction sector. And for us is a really crucial point, because at the end, digital twin environment is supposed to provide interrogative but also predictive purposes, okay? And those predictive purposes is really crucial, okay, inside of mostly of the renovation wave that we are expecting for Europe. At the end, mostly in the residential sector, is really crucial to see how we can close the gap in between the simulation during the design and construction phase and afterwards into the operational and maintenance phase. So with the presentations we have today, I'm really sure that we will advance at least a step, okay, to this simulation across the life cycles, okay, of the buildings, okay, of the construction, and getting a reduction, okay, a potential reduction in this gap. So thank you so much for being here. Let's start with the talking of Kali. I don't know if okay, perfect, Kali, you are online. So, thank you so much for being here. Please, Kali is, sorry, because the letter is so small, and I'm just about to need a lot of light to, okay, Kali is from BTT, okay, and he's a research professor, okay, from BTT, inside of the building department. I hope it's good. So please go ahead, Kali.
Yeah, thanks. So good morning also from my side. And first I have to apologize that I use company template and not any EU project template. So in last years we have talked a lot about building digital twins, but not so much about building user-related digital twin. So what if we could also have some digital model of building user, for example, based on human thermal model, so that we could evaluate some thermal comfort, individual thermal comfort related issue. As a starting point, we are all individuals. We have different kind of body mass, and in same space, some feel a little bit warm and some a little bit cold, and they can compensate the difference between different kind of clothing issue. But why they are different? Because they have different amount of muscles inside the body, and it's like heat radiator inside the body, and which product heat there. And why we design all buildings for average people and does not use so that we could use higher temperature for those people who has less body mass, and those who have more body mass could has better, much more heat production inside body. So we have a very well-known Wanger model, which has been used for average people, and this human thermal model is a model which is for individual human comfort model. So but there is some challenges in that approach, because there is this GDPR issue, and this kind of individual models needs, for example, information. You see here some kind of picture how where is men's body composition and woman composition. So there is very much differences in here, and we have used a fictional person type so that this GDPR issue is not so we can select that which type of people you are, and doing that control and monitoring based on that. So how do we do that in technical point of view? We have building automation systems or IoT sensors, or where we can monitor room temperature and room relative humidity, and then calculate those values using human thermal model algorithms, and send the control setup signal through that building automation systems back to the system. And typically we use a PMS system APIs there, or a standard field bus system like GoNX BACnet or EOT sensors. And in room control, there is those existing set room level controller or smart radiators, which is used. Then a little bit challenging topic. If we look at in wider scope, we have developed last 30 or 40 years different kind of simulators. One is human thermal model, but there is a lot of different kind of energy and that kind of simulators. And typically in recent days, when we have get access to those EOT systems, building management systems, weather data, and all these kind of issues. We have different kind of machine learning related issue. So we can build using, and human thermal model is only one part, some kind of operational digital twins when we get new life for these online simulators, smart algorithms, and so on. Because earlier people used those models so that they put the values and get feedbacks. But nowadays we can connect those simulators online data and build different kind of operative digital twins for buildings, and also in wider scope using building blocks and all this issue, and connecting to building information model, BIM models, or CityGML models. We can put lifecycle work and digital logbooks and this kind of issue. But the human thermal model is only one issue which can be easily connected to real-time data or historical data, and the machine learning issues for predict smart grid applications and fault detection, predictive maintenance, different kind of issues. And here is some examples. We have many EU projects running in that area where we are connecting human thermal model or some other energy simulator or some other simulators to building data. And the challenge is in this topic. For example, we have to implement so many interfaces that we get all data harmonized for our human thermal models or other simulators. So there is seamless digitalization, and in some other projects we used Caverion Smart View APIs or BACnet or GoAnnex or Modbus related issue or some EOT systems. So that's the challenge, that there is no standard how to connect those issues. We have to use very much company-related issue APIs to connect those simulators, online algorithms, and machine learning issues to real buildings, and then harmonize the data. And here is some place about human thermal related issues. This is continuous monitoring, for example, thermal comfort in selected basis. So we can see here the measurement values and then select the person and spaces which we want to look at, and we can see is that selected person warm, hot, or cold, and for monitoring purposes, or then we can calculate optimal set point values which we can send to room controller. And we can also connect these kind of analysis and real-time issues to 3D BIM models, as we can connect all those other issues which I mentioned, this kind of approach. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalevi. So at the end of the session, we will have a round of questions, okay, and also a roundtable discussion. That it would be nice, okay, because I suppose there are many of you and also people online will have a lot of questions and wants to know more, okay, about how these synthetic personas, okay, and this knowledge of 20 or more than 20 years, if I'm not wrong, can bring into the real-time simulation. So thank you so much, Kalevi. Next person to talk is Pablo. Pablo is representing the research team inside of the Building Digital Twin Association. Pablo has more than 20 or 30 years in simulation industry. Okay, and I think it's a really we are really lucky, okay, to have your experience, okay, and being able to hear, okay, your view on how this working group, okay, inside of the Building Digital Twin Association can help to the sector. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would like to describe a little bit more what means mathematical simulation. Complex problems in engineering can be divided into a small function, small components. That is the idea of this mathematical simulation. We are reducing technology used in the International Space Station, in nuclear power stations, to be used in a building. So we don't have to develop really the mathematical engines or the software used to do simulation in buildings. The point is that we cannot present to the user of a building a huge mathematical model and complex software. A user in the building is a person like you and me, and maybe no technician at all. The good point of simulation, mathematical simulation, is that you can use those complex simulations in the project phase, but at one point you can enclose the simulation in a hardware, so the simulation is hidden inside a small electronic machine, and all the artificial intelligence in that simulation is absolutely transparent to the end user. So the end user is switching off the heating, and the simulation is giving the information to them that one sensor is not reading the temperature, and it should be. That's all. So we can enclose a complex system in electronics, consumer electronics, and that can be very useful in all the supervision of that complex building or the automation of the building. Why to create a working group in the BDTA? Because the simulations obviously must be profitable. Just to implement the simulation implies that you must collect many different components, and especially in installations, we are speaking about home ventilation machines, pipes, ventilators, dampers, many small devices. If we don't have ready to use those devices, it is not going to be economic, obviously. So we want to transform a complex mathematical problem into an economic solution for the construction business. That means that we have to make new standards about the connectors between the components. A fabricator can be developing a simulation model of the home ventilation machine, but to be compatible with other components, I had to develop the standards of the connectors, which means 10 connectors, not more. So a very short standard, but everybody in the software business or in the manufacturer field, they can agree on those connectors. Okay, so that is why we think that this working group in the BDTA can be very interesting. What can be the impact of this standardization? Because we are not speaking about standardization in software, because all those standards are already developed. We have a standard called FMI, which is fantastic because you can be using any simulation software, and at one point you can create a component that is compatible with the rest of the software. That is already solved. We need to create the standards to be in all phases of the construction process, to be simple, and to give direct benefit to the construction business. And as an example, yesterday, if you remember, we have a chat about well-being, okay? And Ana Maria, I think he was, or Susana, I don't remember very well. One of them, they said that they didn't have monitoring about the situation of the humans in the building. With simulation, we could have that monitoring, because the technology of wearables, they are already, many of you have smartwatches and you are monitoring your body. So the point is how to interface that monitoring with the building and to regulate ventilation adapted to the needs you have at one point. If you are running, you don't need the same ventilation that you are resting. Or if there is a lot of people in this room, the ventilation system, it has not the same response that if you are 5. So the idea is to be speaking with the building with electronics and devices we have already. Okay. The important point is that a BIM model is not a digital twin. You have to realize that the dimensions of the building are not totally described with a BIM model. A BIM model is a very good documentation system, very good. And of course, if you have a BIM model, you need to integrate the information in the BIM model with the simulation, as you have been described by Kalevi. At one point, they send information from the simulation, the thermal models they have, to the BIM model, and they can display colors and all of that. But the data structures in simulation are not exactly the same in BIM, so we have an ontology problem there. There is another working group in the Building Digital Twin Association about that. So the progress of this digital twin perspective, which may be 5 or 10 years ahead, okay? I think that can be changing construction in the future. And we don't mean expensive construction, because in one of the demo pilots of the Sphere project, all this technology has been applied to social houses, very small houses, with success. Simulation, as soon as you put the simulation in a very inexpensive electronic, it can be working there. So we are not speaking about expensive technology, or we try to do all this technology affordable for anyone. So for all of you interested in the working group, you have the BDTA webpage. We are beginning with the working group. We are welcome to receive people from software business, like TIPE, or people from fabricators, research centers. All of you are invited and welcome to this working group.
Thank you so much, Pablo. Okay, so next presentation, okay, is going to be Alberto Pavan, from former coordinator of DigiPlace project that finished this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, and I think it's really important, okay, to keep in mind that DigiPlace was not focusing on simulation, but proposed, okay, and a way to find a way to unite or federate the platforms that has been created in European projects so far. I don't want to make this close, but I think it's really important to keep that in mind. I think it's really important because nowadays, Pablo was talking about the standards, okay, and at the end, beyond standards, I think we have a lot of platforms being done in European projects, and it's really important, okay, and I think it's something that the ECTP is working a lot, okay, in federating knowledge. I think first time I heard the words were from Alain, okay, from Alain Zarli, and I think it's a really nice concept, okay, to federate knowledge, to federate platforms, and to get all this, okay, together in all the research projects that we are going. So please, Alberto.
Okay. Thanks. Good morning. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Good morning to all. So, DigiPlace is a call, a CSA call to the digital industrial platform for the construction sector, and we had two topics. We have to do a reference architecture framework of the new platform, and a strategic roadmap. But the EU asked to share the consensus along all the value change. So this is really important. And we give the head of the reference architecture to CSTB, and the heads of strategic roadmap to French and Italian ministry, because in this project we have three member states in the consortium, because it's really important for EU to work together with the private market and obviously in the construction sector with the public administration. And I change. Okay, this is the project. We have a lot of beneficiary, 19 beneficiary, 7 linked third party, but we use a big stakeholder community. More than 600 company work in the stakeholder community, and a biggest advisory board, more than 30 advisory board, lead from McKinsey, where they work IBM and VNC and so on. So strong stakeholder community and strong advisory board, because we need to really understand what the market needs to have not another product or not another substructure, but something help the market to work together. And this is all the VP. You could look at on the website the results. The expected impact from EU is it's really biggest, because they want a common language. We're talking about smart city, a global construction ecosystem, the information sharing, the knowledge of and the new skill of the workers, risk and security assessment, collaboration with the public authority and private market. So it's a really complex what they ask to us to reserve. We try to do, but in the first, we have to think of what is a platform, what is an industrial platform, because we yesterday and today all people talking about one platform, one different platform, software house talking about the platform, the architect engineer thinks so CDE is a platform, but we have ERP, we have PLM, we have CRM in the company, web portal, cloud, all is platform. So what is platform? The first really big problem is what is platform. The other one is, if we talk about platform and digitalization in construction, obviously now we have to talk about BIM. And so we start to think about tools, CAD, where we think only to the project and to how I could produce a delivery inside one project. Now we understand we need to collaborate more. And so in CDE, we're talking about the tender and the asset. But for us, if we think about a platform for all the Europe, we need to grow up again. And we have to think to the, not the collaboration, but to integration, not of the data, but to integration of knowledge and to integration of needs. And so is the platform probably is something where we're talking about not a single project, not a single tender, not a single asset, but where we're talking about the organization and the market. So we need to integrate the company and the organization, and we need to integrate inside the market to work together. Not only data, not only one project, not only one model, and so on. So this is, for us, the level of the European platform. In the ending, so what is the past? In the past, we think about a line path where there is a document and a CAD, and so it's a sequence of document. Now we talk about a circle of BIM, but the circle of BIM, we have to tell, is not a CDE, but is a CFE, so it's a file environment now. It's not really a data environment. So what in the ending of DigiPlace, we tell to the European Commission, we need some data space like all the other sectors. So we need a space where we could connect connection data to work together, public and private, because for us it's really important if all the public administration coming with us to work together. But common data space is not only for automotive, not only for healthy, not for like us, but we need one common data space for the industrial sector, so for the construction sector too, like all the other sectors have now. European Commission like really well, really DigiPlace, and I hope in the next future we could have some calls for the construction to build really our data space. And so in the ending, we are all of us in a kickoff meeting. We are all alive now together. We complete and we are alive. There is a QR code for the stakeholder community because we want projects finished, but we want the stakeholder work together to other projects because this is connection of knowledge. So our stakeholders community, we hope it could help other projects because we are a lot of company inside the stakeholder community. We could help any kind of project to understand the really needs of the market. And I hope we will see in the next 2 years with other calls where we could work together and share together our knowledge to do really the data space we need. Okay, I think I finished. Okay.
Okay.
There you have the site where you could find all of the project.
Thank you so much, Alberto. Actually, it's really interesting to see that all this momentum that you gain is still there. Okay, so and that we can use that to move things forward. Okay, so thank you so much, Alberto.
Thanks.
The next speaker is also from Politecnico Milano. It's going to be Bruno. He is going to do it online. Ciao, Bruno. Sorry, we cannot hear you, at least here in Madrid.
Right, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
okay.
right. Now I think I am here.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
buongiorno. So, let's.
Buongiorno.
So
Edward.
you will be talking about the Beam for EB project, which is a sister project of Sphere, mostly one of the European projects regarding or tackling with the Beam in the renovation projects. Okay, so really eager to hear about how you are tackling with simulation tools in such a difficult scenario. So thank you, Bruno.
Okay. Well, thank you, Edward. Thank you, Sami, for this opportunity. And well, of course, I thank you all there in Madrid. And for this opportunity, we have heard from Alberto, he's there, what we have developed for DigiPlace. And here I speak about another European project we are sharing. And this is B4ED, which has the scope to develop a BIM-based fast toolkit for efficient renovation of buildings. Well, I take the opportunity also to speak about the scope of this session. So, starting from the simulation aspects, but thinking about how to manage also the monitoring of the data coming from buildings. So the link between the design aspects and management, operation, and so on. And that's what we have done in our project. So, of course, the general scope of the European project is to develop the BIM-based toolkit with a focus on the saving of time, cost, but the general goal to guarantee a good performance, quality, and comfort for inhabitants. There is a specific part of the project which is dedicated to the creation of the modeling, the 3D digital models, using laser scanner, so scan to beam, but developing a specific devices for looking for the pipes, tubes inside the walls, and this is done using, let's say, HoloLens associated with the IFC files, because we are speaking about interoperable models of IFC file in augmented reality. Then we are now towards the end of the project. We are developing guidelines for BIM implementation. Alberto Pavan is chairing this task because he is involved in the BIM standards in Italy, Europe, and ISO for Italy. And the goal is to develop is to develop a BIM management system as a common data environment referring to the standards. I quoting the ISO standard for interoperability, I see, and that's why we are associated also with Building Smart International. And of course, using the most recent ISO standard like ISO 19650. Of course, Alberto is there, and if you need something, you can ask him. Well, just going to, as I'm the coordinator, I have to introduce the project, which is, as Edward says, is one of the sister projects in the same pool with the Sphere, but other we speak later. And this is the framework. You see, we are going to the end by June of the next year. You see the funding, but what is important is that we have 3 big universities. With Polyme, I'm here representing the whole consortium, of course. So UCC in Ireland, Technical University of Dresden, and, well, as a research institute, VTT. Sami knows very well our project, but also Timo. I know that Timo is there, and it's important the contribution by VTT. We will see later about some specific subject. RISE in Sweden, and for public administration, that's very interesting because we have involved, of course, Region Lombardy on the demo side, but not only. Of course, the initial survey by stakeholders for public works, and now the public guidelines they are developing with us, with Polyme. Well, important also the participation of small and medium enterprises, later. And 3 large enterprises. What is important also the ACE participation, the European Consortium of Architects. But just focusing now on the results. Okay, well, one moment, skip away. Okay. Well, the toolkit, and here we can understand better what we mean about associating simulation and monitoring of the building, and that's we started from the BIM concept, but now we are working on the digital twin concept, and this is what we are doing in Polytechnical, making new research about the digital twin in general. Of course, the core of the project is the BIM management system developed by one team with the contribution of all the partners, where the BIM management system is a common data environment with which, of course, taking into account all the different types of resources which are not only IFC file, but they are also the streaming of the sensors and different data coming from the different tools in different formats. So starting from the left, of course, we have already spoken about the fast mapping tool developed by RISE and CGI. But what is important, speaking about simulation, BIM Planner. BIM Planner has been developed by VTT, and that's very important from the point of view of the simulation of the activities and the renovation works, planning, tracking, and management. This is used at first to plan, so at the design stage, all the activities with a location-based structure, working on the IFC file and managing all the activities for renovation. And what is important is also the sharing of data through the BIM management system with BIM for occupants, TASOS. We have heard that that's a very important Suite 5 contribution because they are the data coming from the owner and the facility manager about the work management is shared with the occupants with an app with a smartphone. And there is possible for the occupants to share the information and to agree or not with the planning of the activity. Before occupants has another part which is dedicated to the management of occupants profiling related with comfort aspects and energy aspects and occupancy. And there is very important the management of data coming from the buildings on streaming. And that's why in the BIM management system we have developed using specific ontologies and linked data the streaming of the data coming from the building. So up to now in the BIM management system, which is available and can be used, if you go to the website, which is really easy, Googling BIM for EB, you can find videos and so on, and also the BIM management system. There, you can see that we can navigate the model of the buildings, going to each spaces and linking the streaming of the data in real time. Thanks to Suite 5, but then another aspect which was developed is related with BACS, Building Automation and Control System, by TUD, Technical University of Dresden, where they developed a very interesting tool dedicated to the management of BACS with a very, very interesting and innovative interface with the BIM management system using IFC file, again, interoperable management of BIM. Of course, I cannot forget BIM CPD developed by UCC and IRC, where the performance of the system, the building plus heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is managed with a very, very interesting management of data and simulation associated with the simulation of performances, because we have to think that always we are thinking about the management of information throughout the whole process, starting from the design stage of the existing building. So at first, as I was saying, the definition of the model in IFC file using scan to BIM, but then working on it at the design stage at different level, as we have seen, for planning activities, for managing the comfort, energy, and so on. And now, finally, going to BIM easier, what is very important, also the simulation of energy performances of the building and the plants. And so VTT has developed a very, very useful tool, creating like a middleware between existing software for simulation of buildings from the energy point of view with the BIM management system, in order to share all the information with all the other tools and the different users which can enter the BIM management system, and that's thought as a tool for the support to the decision taking about energy saving activities, considering different scenarios and managing different data. Well, you see, what we have created is like a very, very useful environment to manage renovation activities on existing building. And of course, we are thinking now to participate to the next call for bid for people for different calls. For example, logbook, but also renovation packages, and we are available for cooperation. For everyone is available to work with us for the next course. Well, just to conclude, we have now we have developed the toolkit, as I told you, and you can have access to the toolkit, to the BIM management system. If you go to the website BIM4EB, you can register it and you can come to the next workshop. One will be in January in Milan, in Regione Lombardia, showing everything, the toolkit applied on the Italian demo site, the first one. Then we will have another workshop in Poland with Prochem. And finally, we'll go back to Finland with VTT and Caverio to have a demonstration on the finished demo site. We'll be again in Madrid in March, and then finally in June, we will be in Brussels for the final conference managed by ACE. Well, I think that's all, and I thank you, and I hope that you can enjoy our website and to work with us for the next course. Thank you, Sami, Edward, and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, and last but not least, speaker is Enerit Barreiro from Tecnalia, who is going to talk about their experience in one of the, at least in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting research infrastructures, okay, that we have in Europe, which is the cubic building. Thank you, Enerit.
Okay, now thank you. Okay. Sorry. Thank you very much, Eduard, and the platform for organizing this conference. As you have said, I am Enerit Barreiro, and nowadays I am in charge of the strategy development of urban ecosystem in Tecnalia. Tecnalia is a research center, and during the last years, one of the main activities has been focused on the development of digital twins for buildings, infrastructures, and cities. And today our idea is to share with you our approach and the processes that we have followed until having this Cubic 4.0. First of all, what is Cubic? Cubic is a full-scale research and development test facility for the development of new concepts, products, and services. I mean, we can develop new facades, new systems, in order to improve the energy efficiency in buildings. This infrastructure, as you can see in the pictures, is not a big building. It's a building with 3 floors, a basement, and a roof, and it was built in 2010. This facility has the experimental capabilities to realistically reproduce the real building operational conditions. It has a monitoring and control system that provides the necessary information for the development of all the research and develop activities that we develop, or our colleagues or partners develop in this kind of projects. So this is Cubic now. It's a physical facility, and it was the first step of this concept of digital twins for simulation. As you can see in these pictures, you can see some construction phase pictures. This is an infrastructure with industrialized structure, and in the last picture, you can see one of the final picture of Cubic, because we can change the facades and we can implement a new system in the envelope, in the roof, or inside the building. After several years, we decided to go ahead and to transform this infrastructure in another one. So our idea was to evolve from Cubic 1.0 to Cubic 4.0. I mean, we designed a new interactive building, a new virtual building, to use not only to monitor all the experiments that we develop in this building, also to try to develop new activities related to digitalization. So in 2019, we had the first digital twin with a complex dynamic and virtual model of the building. So this new Cubic has a real-time reflection of the status of an evolution of any activity that occurs in the real building. At the beginning, we have 800 sensors, and nowadays we have more than 3,000 sensors. So it's true that it's a complex model, but it's because it's an experimental building. It's not a common building. So if you want to follow this process in other building, probably you don't need so many sensors. This is a summary of our holistic approach, and for us, because you can see in other papers the different steps and so on. But for us, we design from the beginning this concept of digital twin for us. And this approach has 3 levels. The first one is the digital building, where the main focus is on the 3D model and the digital management of the documents and so on. The second level is the analytical building, where the IoT technologies are quite important. And the last one, and the most complex but the most interesting level, is the cognitive building, where you can simulate and design new advanced services. And nowadays we are in this level, designing new advanced services for owners, managers, and so on. So this was the first level, the digital building, where this level is focused on intuitive interaction with 3D model and static information visualization. It's true that, as Pablo has mentioned, 3D model is not digital twin, but it's an important step to achieve this digital twin, for example, for maintenance or other services. In our case, it's true that it's a very complex 3D model, because all the valves, all the components, all the elements are modeled, because it's an experimental infrastructure, and it's important for us to know each part of the element or whatever. So, as I said before, for a normal building, it's not so important all these details, but for us, as a research center, it's quite important. In this picture, you can see the comparison between the real and the virtual phase. It's true that in this case, there is a unidirectional integration from the physical to the virtual environment. And in this step, we have developed also digital platforms to manage the process and documents. So the idea is to have everything in a digital form. another picture that is quite easy to understand what we are developing. The second level is the analytical building, and in this step, it's very important the IoT technologies and the interaction among the modeling, the 3D model, with the IoT and with other elements like the building management system, or also with the system of that we use for maintenance. This is the next step where we can start to analyze different data, and it's important to have the connection, to have the real data at the real moment. And the last one, and as I said before, the most interesting level for us and for clients and partners is the cognitive building, where all these technologies are being implemented: IoT, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, big data, and so on. And it's important to understand what we are doing nowadays in this level. We have a smart building management system of operation and maintenance with continuous optimization. But it's true that this process could be implemented in other kind of issues. For example, we can develop new services for demolition, or services to increase the sustainability of the buildings. So the process is the same. It's important to develop new algorithms to control, and this is the key issue for us, development of algorithms, and our studies with this kind of services, we can achieve a reduction of energy consumption of 40%, and also the cost reduction of 20% in building management. In this case, we are focusing nowadays in development of advanced services, and one of these services is an energy management optimization service and a predictive maintenance service. That, for example, from our point of view, is in the future. This kind of services will be very, very interesting for residential and non-residential building. Residential, because nowadays with the tendency of build to rent, this issue could be very, very interesting for a big owner. In our approach, the predictive maintenance services nowadays have 4 functionalities: diagnosis, anomaly detection, the automatic labeling algorithms to generate incremental diagnosis capabilities, and also the prognosis. With some picture, I would like to share with you some simple ideas that what we are developing and the use of these services. If you design a new predictive maintenance services, you can have different approaches. You can use physics-based models, you can use data-driven models, but in our case, we are using hybrid models. So we are mixing physics models with data-driven models. And we consider that this is the most easy, the easiest way to have a good result. This is more or less the process that we are following. We develop the energy model with Energy Plus of the building, of Cubic. Then we use Modelica for systems, and as Pablo has said before, we use FMI standard to connect both models. These are some picture of the results of this simulation. And then you can see more or less the process that we are following. And another example that is quite useful is the detection of anomaly detection and diagnosis. In this case, for example, this is analysis and simulation of air handling unit. And this is a confusion matrix, and these are some of the faults that we can analyze. Fouling on heating or cooling coils, simultaneous operation of heating cooling coils, dirty filters, and so on. And the algorithms that our team has developed is a good one in this case, and the idea is to increase and to improve these meta models in order to have more applications for more equipments and so on. So our idea is this level is not finished, and for us is the future, because we can expand decision-making algorithms for more use cases, for example, circular economy, sustainability, demolition, and so on. But the methodology could be useful for not only for energy or maintenance, for other kind of issues. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Eneric. I think it's good to finish with a good example of a complete simulation, and a simulation which is also paired with all the monitoring, okay, which at the end is what we should expect, okay, from a building digital twin environment, okay. So we will reach this link, okay, this closing loop in between real-time simulation, okay, and real-time monitoring. So thank you so much, Eneric. For now, I would like to ask to the present, to the presence, and also to the online people to know if you have questions. I will ask also to Alberto and Pablo if you can come here. Since we have not many, I don't know if we have the microphone. So because probably. Okay. Then I think I will share that we have just 10 minutes left. Okay, so let's try to go swift. So I don't know if there are any questions from the public. Or people is waiting for the picture. I have some questions. Okay, so I'll try to. The first is for Bruno and Kira. Okay, for Professor Kalevi. In terms, I saw that in BIM for EB, okay, it was mentioning, Bruno, it was mentioning profiling, okay, it was mentioning profiling, and it reminds me to the human thermal models, okay. I don't know if it goes in the same direction, and actually since BTT is also in BIM for EB, okay, so I think it's a really good connection, because at the end. Okay, and I will end. Okay, but I think it's really important that when we have these real-time simulations, that we will include not only the weather forecasting, but also what Pablo was mentioning, which is what the people is doing in there. Okay, so that was my question, just to understand if it goes in the same direction.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Edward.
I'm afraid that we have lost.
Of course, it was very interesting. I told him that I didn't know him before, but it's a very good opportunity. In our project, we have VTT, Suite 5, and UCC, because what we have developed in monitoring occupancy and also the comfort and so on items with the streaming, but I think in the next steps it's important to go on in the cooperation with VTT about this, because it's very important what I have seen about the human behavior, and also the improving of the traditional fungal methods, which was, of course, has a very big limitations, and it's very welcome what Pira showed, and I think it's a good opportunity for next year, months to cooperate, to go on in cooperation about this, because of course we have done right the first step, just let's say a first part of modeling and also IoT, but it's important now not only to gather data about comfort, profiling, occupancy, but to go on this aspect of a measuring an evaluation of the actual comfort reaction. So starting from the percentage of satisfied and the mean predictive vote by Fanger, going on this different simulation tools developed by VDT, and I think we have Pira to discuss and to go on this direction. I really appreciated your presentation. Very good. Of course, involving also Suite 5 and other partners which has worked on this, Suite 5 and UCC, which has developed Suite 5, the BIM for occupants. There is Tazos, there was Tazos, I don't know if it is still online, and also UCC, because they are working on this with a focus on this. That's and VTT, of course. So I don't know if Pira, do you want to add something?
I could add that we have same people working in both of these projects, and we know it very well, and we already use those BIM for EP related work in some other projects as background, like Synergy, and maybe beyond project where Suite 5 is also participating in those projects. And so I think it's very easily done.
Yeah. Maybe one something I can add is very important also the work we have developed with VTT and VisualLink about and TUD about ontologies and link data, because I forgot maybe to tell and to focus this, but this is very innovative aspect, the set of ontologies we have developed, which are very useful in order to link at the level of the link data and W3C level, the different metadata coming from, let's say, the data about comfort, but also the users and so on. I think this is a very important subject. We have started to work on this, but there is a lot of work to do on this, and I hope that we will do. And I may add that with Alberto, we are discussing these ontologies and data in order to put on the table of the European working group SAN 442, where has been published the first part of the standard about semantic web and link data. And with Alberto, we are proposing part 2 for building innovation. I don't know if Alberto want to add something, because you are the chair about this. Sorry.
Yes, I wanted to mention just a funny application of simulation. And during the demo pilot in Italy, I remember we were discussing with the architect the open-closed windows problem. Okay, so we were proposing them to use a mechanical ventilation system, but he told us, no, impossible. In Italy, we like to open and close windows. Okay, so forget any controlled ventilation. Forget it. Okay. Anyway, we are going to be doing the simulation of the house. That could be very interesting, because you could show the house or the flats in your pilot there for customers. You can show the simulation of the building and how the family interact with the building. Eh? What? You mean that I can show the potential buyers on my construction? So he was thinking on the problem they had, that was to sell the houses, and how the simulation could be helping them to show a new family or a new customer how they could be integrated with the house, exactly the energetic consumption or how the ventilation was working, all of that. Well, it's a funny application, but it's true. If these owners, big owners that are going to be renting many houses, if they can offer the warranty to customers that the building is well done, because to do the simulation means that you have been solved all problems of representation. Absolutely true. You need a very good BIM model to be able to represent this, to do the simulation. Otherwise, you don't have data. So a construction company or a promoter showing a new promotion, the best warranty is to say, hey, this is the house working. You can go inside with this icon and you can see how the house is working with you inside. Fine.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you, Bruno and Kalevi. Actually, I think that's the key. Okay, so bring that. I have another question. I don't know if anyone has another question. If not, as chairman, I think I have to do to have these questions. Okay, it is for Alberto. Okay, because you were mentioning inside of DigiPlace at the center is the reference architectural data model, which I suppose it's based also in with the current ontologies and ontologies that is being developed. Okay, actually Bruno was talking about ontologies and the World Wide Web Consortium, and it's true that this probably will be part of the other working group of the BDTA, which is focusing on ontologies. But I think for me it's really important to understand if this reference architectural model, that architectural model is being evolved, maintained by DigiPlace, and which is the feedback from the industry.
No.
Sorry.
No, we finish with the project, so this is a problem because we finished with the project. All the other projects have the other calls to make the data space, so automotive, healthy, and the other sector, but not the construction. So we done the works, but it's probably we could miss the work if we haven't other calls to complete, but yes, we have to look at to the semantic, to the linked data, but because we have a lot of problem with the language, because we have a language, we have a law. I use your platform, but if I go into German and they change the law, how could I do? And so on. And this is, or I change the owner or the market, and so in Italian market, all the buildings are sell and not rent. So it's really different how you could approach to this market, because for me, I sell is not my problem, the building, because I sell you. If I rent, the building is mine. So I have to look at to the user in different way, but it's different in Italy or in Spain or in Germany. So we have a really big problem. We put inside all these problems in DigiPlace, but if the European Commission don't work over won't proceed, we have a problem, because it's finished the project and maybe it's finished the knowledge too.
Let's look for solutions then. And actually, the Building Digital, we created the Building Digital Association inside of the Sphere project with the idea of not losing the open knowledge that we generated, that we were generating. Actually, I remember people from the project getting to me and said, no, that could be a key exploitable result. Okay, at the end of the project, we can start the association. I say, why we have to wait for the end of the project? Let's do that now, okay? And let's
at the same day where we finish and we present the DigiPlace, IBM and co-builder present the platform, the market platform. Say, oh, we look at what DigiPlace do, so we think it's really well, and so this is a market platform we have done immediately in the same day when we finish. So. The risk is to lose all this open knowledge if the European Commission doesn't work on.
And for me, it's even worse, okay, because it's, and now just to finish, because I think when we are talking about digital twins are coming to stay, okay, and actually 2 years ago, I was starting to talk about metaverse with a really low voice, okay? But right now, okay, if Facebook moves to Meta, okay, so now it's everyone knows about the metaverse. So, and as Pablo was mentioning, you can use your devices, but we are talking about, okay, one thing is a digital twin of an airport, but if we are talking about digital twins of residential, it's talking about our homes.
Yeah.
The homes where it's our families, our kids, okay? So do we want to bring all this privacy data to the cloud? Okay, so there are many things that has to be considered, okay? Do we want this data moving beyond European borders? Okay, that comes to data sovereignty. Okay, so this is implying much more things than not just energy efficiency. Okay, and I think it's really important that we will have this a common. And I think having the opportunity of having a congress like this, led by ECTP and PETEC, I think it's really good to put that in common. So I think we are ahead. I had a question for you, Enel, but I think it's I don't know if.
In the coffee.
In the coffee? Okay. No, it's a short one, okay? It's just based on your experience, okay? Since you had a really complex infrastructure, okay, with a lot of sensors, as you mentioned, and a lot of effort in the simulation, okay? Which is the feeling you have in terms of getting a complete software in the loop, in terms of reducing the gap of what you're simulating and what you are getting from the sensors.
It's true that we are technological center, so sometimes we develop complex platforms, a complex infrastructure, but our idea is to and we are starting to implement these solutions in the market with other companies, because we don't sell a final software, for example.
No, I know, but I was referring more on you are at the tip of the spear, okay, on this technology with such a, let's say, a Formula One, okay, but which is your feeling in terms or your experience, okay, in terms of the reduction of the data that comes, the data series that comes from the simulation, and with the data that comes from the sensors. Okay, so in terms of...
we use both, so more or less the gap is reducing.
Perfect.
So the idea is to combine both... and
make it cheaper.
Yes, but nowadays sensors are cheaper than 5 years ago. So I think that in the future, in the next years, we could have a lot of the real, because nowadays everybody talk about digital twins, but the digital twin is not a 3D model. We need the IoT, we need sensors, and sensors now are affordable. From our point of view.
No, but it's true. At the end, one of the things that we were discussing, and actually in the white paper we published in 2019, was we were talking about is the simulation manager inside of the
role, this new role.
So how a simulation manager is not only using simulation during planning, design, and construction phase, okay, but also is getting in mind how the monitoring should be, okay, to get to being able after a virtual commissioning to being able to couple, okay, both worlds, okay, and therefore having this software in the loop, okay, this interaction in between both. So thank you so much, and thank you so much, Sami, Bruno, and Kalevi. Thank you so much, and for people being here. And let's go for the coffee.
No picture.
The picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.